Market for Pollution 1 Recap Taxes and Permits. In this single slide, I'd like to summarise how taxes and permits work to reduce emissions. And we're sticking with the Coburn Sound example. So just to recap, then the unregulated emissions for the two firms started out at 6.25 tonnes and for KC and 10 tonnes for CC. After regulation, there's a cap of 8.56 tonnes, and if that's allocated evenly between CC and KC, then they each get 4.28 tonnes each. The least cost solution is where the emissions of KC are equal to 1.98 and the emissions of CC are equal to 6.58. We can reinterpret these as abatements, that is reductions in emissions relative to the unregulated level of emissions, as follows. So abatement for KC is equal to 4.27 and abatement for CC is equal to 3.42. If we equate the marginal profits, MBCC and MBKC, to the marginal cost of the crab fisherman, then where those are equated under the emission cap, then we end up with marginal benefits CC is equal to marginal benefits KC is equal to the marginal cost, and that's equal to 3.42. In this diagram, then what I've done is I've put the marginal benefits of CC as they were in the previous diagram, but I've rotated the marginal benefits of KC so that KC's emissions are now running from right to left. So what this means is that it allows us to put these two curves onto a diagram where they now cross rather than running roughly in parallel. What this diagram does is it gives us the marginal benefit for CC such that the cap is always met, and it gives us the marginal benefits for KC in a way that the cap is always met. So if we start off with the command and control solution here, where each firm gets 4.28 tonnes of limestone emissions, then we can see that the marginal profit for CC is above the marginal profit for KC. So there's scope for an adjustment up to this least cost solution here, where the marginal profits of the two firms are equalised. Two ways of getting there. First of all, we can apply an emission tax, and independently the firms will assess the tax and will adjust their emissions up to the point where the marginal profit for CC is equal to the marginal profit for KC. But they do that independently. There's no interaction between the two firms. With the permit market, then what has to happen is that KC has to sell permits to CC, but through the permit price, then they'll end up at the same solution as with the tax, so at the least cost solution. And that's the point where CC doesn't want to buy any more permits, and KC at the permit price doesn't want to sell any more permits. So we have a market equilibrium. Now this slide shows that all other things being equal, and that's quite a big assumption to make, then a tax scheme and a permit scheme are equivalent. So they can end up at the same least cost, socially optimal solution. Will the firms be as well off? Well, we've already demonstrated that firms will almost always tend to favour tradable permit schemes, because especially if the permits are given away. firms don't like taxes because they still have to pay all the tax on any emissions that they have. So that tends to reduce a firm's profitability, although the government might quite like that because it generates some tax revenue.